The stories had been told for thousands of years. Around every campfire on every world of the Ceridian cluster, children heard tales of the mysterious humans. These stories scared them, fascinated them, and made them wonder about the stars. Humans could survive almost anything, elders would say. They could break their bones and keep fighting. They could lose blood and stand back up. They could go days without sleep. Most grown aliens laughed at these stories. No real creature could be so strange. No actual species could be so resilient. Humans were just made-up monsters to teach children caution. Professor Zix didn't believe in humans either. His crystal body gleamed in the soft light of his classroom as he gestured at the star map. Myths serve a purpose in society, he told his students. Every civilization needs its monsters and heroes. Humans are simply the most common myth spread across our worlds. His students nodded. They had all heard human stories growing up, but now they were too smart for such childish beliefs. The tales say humans had only 2 eyes, not 6 or ape-like sensible species, Zix continued. They supposedly had internal skeletons and soft outer coverings called skin. Most absurdly, the myths claimed they came from a single planet instead of evolving on multiple worlds like all known sentient life. The students buzzed with amusement. How could anyone believe such nonsense? After class, Zix walked to the Grand Library of Loravine. The building stretched toward the twin suns, its knowledge crystals storing millions of years of collected wisdom. Zix placed his hand on the scanner and entered the mythology section. Display all accounts of human encounters, he commanded. The crystal wall lit up with thousands of stories from across the centuries. Zix had studied them for years. He was writing a book to explain how the human myth began and why it persisted. Somewhere across the stars, Scout Officer Mira piloted her small ship along the edge of Concord space. Her vessel was tiny but quick, perfect for investigating strange readings without being noticed. Another boring patrol, she muttered to herself, her 4 arms working different controls simultaneously. Her species, the Talorans, made excellent scouts. Their multiple limbs and split-focus minds could process several data streams at once. Mira could fly her ship, analyze sensor readings, and compose her report all at the same time. A strange alert pinged on her console. She focused 2 eyes on it while the other 4 kept watching her surroundings. Unknown energy signatures detected, the computer announced. Pattern suggests artificial origin. Mira felt a tingle of excitement. The Ceridian cluster rarely saw visitors from outside. The last new species had joined the Galactic Concord over 300 years ago. Computer, analyze, and compare to known propulsion systems, she ordered. No match found in database. That was odd. The Concord had cataloged every known method of space travel. Mira sent a tight beam message to command. Unusual energy pattern detected in Sector 7. Investigating now. The response came quickly. Proceed with caution. Maintain distance. Record everything. Mira guided her ship closer to the energy source. As she approached, her sensors detected not one large object but many smaller ones moving together. A fleet. Her heart beat faster. A new species, or perhaps an unknown faction of a known species. Either way, this would be the most exciting discovery of her career. She activated the long-range visual sensors. The images were blurry at first. She enhanced them and froze in shock. The ships were unlike anything in Concord records. They had clean lines, geometric shapes, and glowed with strange blue energy. But what really caught her attention was the writing on the largest vessel, symbols that matched no known language. Mira remembered childhood stories her parent had told her, about creatures who wrote in straight lines instead of the circular patterns used by most species, about beings who built ships of metal rather than living crystal or grown membranes. Impossible, she whispered to herself. She sent another message to command. Admiral Vax, request immediate consultation. Visual confirmation of unusual fleet. Design matches. She hesitated, then finished. matches descriptions from human legends. Silence filled her ship as she waited for a response. The fleet continued its approach, steady and purposeful. Finally, Admiral Vax replied, "Maintain position. Do not engage. I am sending reinforcements." And Scout Mira. Speak of this to no one. Mira's small scout ship drifted in space. She kept all non-essential systems powered down to avoid detection. The strange fleet grew larger on her view screen as it approached. She counted 12 large vessels and at least 30 smaller ones. They moved with precision that suggested a highly organized species. Her training told her to retreat, but curiosity kept her in place. "Computer, begin recording all frequencies," she said quietly, as if the unknown ships might hear her. Suddenly, her communication system lit up. Someone was broadcasting a signal directly toward her. They had spotted her despite her stealth measures. Mira's 6 hearts pounded rapidly. Should she flee? Report back. Her 4 hands hovered over the controls, ready for emergency departure. Before she could decide, a voice came through her speakers. The language was unknown, but then it shifted, as if the speaker was trying different patterns. After several attempts, clear Concord Standard came through. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Sam Rogers of the Earth Expeditionary Fleet. We detect your presence and mean no harm. Please respond." Mira gasped. Earth, the mythical human homeworld from the old stories. It couldn't be. With trembling hands, she activated her communication system. "This is Scout Officer Mira of the Galactic Concord. Identify your species and purpose in Concord space." There was a brief pause. "We are humans from the planet Earth. We are explorers seeking peaceful contact with other intelligent life." Mira's skin changed color from blue to pale white, a sign of extreme shock among her people. Humans were real. The creatures of legend actually existed. "Request visual confirmation," she said, her voice shaking. The screen flickered, and an image appeared. Mira stared at a creature exactly as described in the ancient tales. It had 2 eyes, not 4 or 6. Its skin was a light brown with no scales or crystals. It had short brown fur on top of its head. It wore a uniform with strange symbols. "I am Captain Sam Rogers," the human said. "We've been exploring this sector for the past 3 months. Your ship is the first sign of intelligent life we've encountered here." Mira struggled to remain professional. "Please hold your position, Earth Fleet. I must consult with my superiors." She switched to a secure channel and contacted Admiral Vax directly. "Admiral, visual confirmation obtained. They match all descriptions from the legends. They claim to be humans from Earth. Request immediate instructions." Admiral Vax's voice sounded strained. "You're certain they use that term? Humans?" "Yes, Admiral. They even look like the old stories describe." A long silence followed. Finally, Admiral Vax spoke. "I'm assembling an emergency meeting of the Concord Council. Maintain contact, but share no information about our worlds or defenses. I'm dispatching a diplomatic vessel to your location. Estimated arrival: 6 hours." Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship Horizon *, Captain Rogers turned to his officers. "Well, that's not the reaction I expected," he said. "She looked like she'd seen a ghost." Science Officer Diane Carter nodded. Her vital signs showed extreme stress responses. Either our appearance is naturally frightening to her species, or something else is going on. "The universal translator worked perfectly," said Joe Martinez, the diplomatic specialist. "Her language patterns suggest a highly developed civilization, but she seemed shocked by our existence." Captain Rogers leaned back in his chair. "Let's proceed carefully. This is first contact protocol. No sudden movements, no aggressive posturing." 6 hours later, a much larger Concord vessel arrived. It positioned itself between Mira's scout ship and the human fleet. Its design was organic, with flowing lines that suggested it had been grown rather than built. A new voice came through the communication system. "Human vessels, I am Admiral Vax of the Galactic Concord. We request a formal meeting between our representatives. If your intentions are peaceful as you claim, we offer the neutral space station Harmony 9 as a meeting location." Captain Rogers smiled. A formal diplomatic greeting. That's more like it. He pressed the communication button. "Admiral Vax, we accept your invitation. Please provide coordinates for this station. We will send a small delegation only, to avoid any perception of threat." "Coordinates are being transmitted," Admiral Vax replied. "We will await your delegation in 12 hours. As the transmission ended, Rogers turned to his crew. "Martinez, Carter, Wright, you're with me. This is history in the making." None of them realized they were already part of an alien civilization's mythology, or that their arrival had just confirmed thousands of years of dismissed legends. Space Station Harmony 9 floated at the edge of the Ceridian cluster. The station looked like a giant flower with crystal petals that opened toward the stars. Inside, representatives from the 7 major species of the Galactic Concord gathered in the central chamber. Admiral Vax paced nervously. His gray skin reflected the soft lights as he moved. "Remember," he told the delegation, "we know nothing about these humans except old stories. Professor Zix, you've studied the legends. What should we expect?" Professor Zix adjusted his crystalline form to appear taller. "The myths describe humans as highly adaptable, surprisingly strong for their size, and dangerously unpredictable. But these are just stories, likely exaggerated over thousands of years." Security Chief Korvax growled softly. His large, furred body tensed as he checked the room for threats. "Stories often contain truth. I've posted guards at all entrances. If these humans try anything—" "They won't," interrupted Cultural Liaison Trell. Her slender, plant-like body swayed gently. "This is a historic moment. The return of a species thought to be myth. We should welcome them, not fear them." A soft tone announced the arrival of the transport ship. The Concord delegation stood together, trying to appear calm and united. The doors slid open. 4 humans entered the chamber. Admiral Vax stepped forward. "Welcome to Harmony 9. I am Admiral Vax, representing the Galactic Concord." Captain Sam Rogers extended his hand, then quickly pulled it back when he noticed the confused looks. "Forgive me. That's a human greeting gesture. I am Captain Sam Rogers of Earth. This is Science Officer Diane Carter, Military Strategist Alan Wright, and Diplomatic Specialist Joe Martinez." The humans looked remarkably similar to each other, yet with clear differences. Their skin colors ranged from light to dark brown. Their heights varied slightly. Their facial features were distinct. But compared to the dramatic differences between Concord species, they seemed like variations of the same design. "Please, sit." Admiral Vax gestured to the round table. As everyone took their seats, Professor Zix couldn't contain his curiosity. "You call yourselves humans? From Earth?" Joe Martinez nodded. "Yes. We're curious why that seems to surprise you." Admiral Vax and Professor Zix exchanged glances. Vax spoke carefully. "In our cultures, humans have been the subject of myths and legends for thousands of years. Stories passed down through generations, but widely considered to be fictional." The humans looked at each other in surprise. "You're saying you've heard of us before?" Diane Carter asked. "That's impossible. This is our first expedition into this sector of space. Humans have only had faster-than-light travel for 200 years. Trell stepped forward, her leaf-like hands holding an ancient data crystal. "Yet our oldest records contain descriptions that match your appearance exactly. The oldest stories date back nearly 6,000 years. Alan Wright frowned. "That can't be right. 6,000 years ago, humans were still using stone tools on Earth." The meeting grew tense as both sides tried to understand this mystery. As Cultural Liaison Trell moved around the table to show the humans the ancient records, she accidentally knocked over a ceremonial water vessel. What happened next stunned the Concord delegation. Joe Martinez moved with impossible speed, catching the vessel before it hit the floor. Not a drop of water spilled. Security Chief Korvax jumped to his feet, hand on his weapon. The room froze in silence. "How did you move so fast?" Korvax demanded. Martinez carefully placed the vessel back on the table. "Just good reflexes, nothing special." But the Concord representatives had seen it. The human had moved faster than any of their species could, just like the legends described. Professor Zix's crystalline form flickered with excitement. The myths speak of human reflexes being unnaturally quick, of strength beyond their size. Captain Rogers tried to ease the tension. "We're just normal people, I assure you. Perhaps we could return to discussing a peaceful exchange of knowledge and culture." Admiral Vax nodded, but he noticed that Security Chief Korvax remained standing, watching the humans with new wariness. The stories described humans as dangerous when threatened. Best to proceed carefully. "Yes," Vax agreed. "Let us continue our talks. But I believe we have much to learn about each other, and perhaps about our shared history that neither of us fully understands." The diplomatic talks continued for 3 days. Both sides shared basic information about their cultures, technologies, and histories. But trust remained fragile. Professor Zix spent every free moment in the station's archives, searching for more information about the ancient human myths. Late on the 3rd night, he made a discovery that sent shivers through his crystal body. He rushed to Admiral Vax's quarters and knocked urgently. "Enter," called the Admiral. Zix hurried inside, holding an old star chart. "Admiral, look at this. It's from our oldest records, nearly 6,000 years old." Admiral Vax studied the chart. "What am I looking for?" "Here." Zix pointed to a small symbol near the edge. "This marking indicates visitors from beyond our known space. And these coordinates," he pulled up a current map. "They match exactly with where the human fleet first appeared." Admiral Vax frowned. "So our ancestors did meet humans before?" "Yes, but there's more." Zix displayed more ancient images. These drawings show beings that match human appearance fighting alongside our ancestors against another enemy. "What enemy?" "That's unclear. The records only call them the darkness from beyond. But if these records are accurate, humans weren't just visitors. They were allies who helped defend our worlds." Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship Horizon *, Captain Rogers received an encrypted message from Earth Command. He took it in his private quarters. The message was clear. Long-range sensors detect massive energy signature approaching Ceridian cluster. Pattern matches Voidborn fleet encountered at Proxima Centauri. Estimated arrival: 2 weeks. Proceed with caution. First priority: protect Earth coordinates. Rogers sat heavily in his chair. The Voidborn, humanity's greatest enemy. 3 years ago, they had attacked human colonies without warning or mercy. The battle was barely won, and at great cost. And now they were coming here, to this peaceful cluster of worlds that didn't even believe humans were real. "Captain to bridge," Rogers called. Emergency meeting of all senior officers. 20 minutes later, Rogers faced his team. "We have a situation. The Voidborn are heading toward the Ceridian cluster." The room fell silent. Diane Carter spoke first. "Should we warn the Concord?" Alan Wright shook his head. "If we tell them about the Voidborn, we'll have to reveal our true military capabilities. They already seem wary of us. This could frighten them into seeing us as a threat." "But if we say nothing," Joe Martinez argued, "they'll be defenseless when the Voidborn arrive." Rogers nodded slowly. "We need more information before deciding. Carter, I want you to continue studying their technology. Wright, assess their defensive capabilities. Martinez, keep building trust in the diplomatic talks." Back on Loravine, something unexpected was happening. Construction workers digging foundations for a new building had discovered an underground chamber. Inside were wall carvings that clearly showed beings with 2 arms, 2 legs, and rounded heads without antennae or crests. The lead archaeologist called Professor Zix immediately. "You need to see this," she said. "The chamber appears to be at least 6,000 years old. And the beings in these images, they look like your humans. Zix arrived on Lorivine the next day. When he entered the chamber, his crystal form glowed with excitement. The walls were covered with images telling a story. Humans fighting side by side with ancient Lorivines against black, shapeless creatures. One carving showed humans teaching Lorivines how to build structures. Another showed them sharing food. But the most important carving was at the center. A human and a Lorivine clasping hands with stars around them. Not enemies, Zix whispered. Allies. He took images of everything and prepared to return to Harmony 9. The humans had lied about never visiting before, but perhaps for good reason. As his shuttle lifted off, 3 Concord border outposts went silent without warning. No distress calls, no signs of battle, just complete silence. Admiral Vax received the reports with growing concern. Send investigation teams to all 3 outposts, he ordered. Maximum caution. He didn't know that none of those teams would ever report back. The emergency meeting of the Concord Council began in chaos. Representatives from all 7 species talked over each other as Admiral Vax tried to maintain order. 3 outposts gone. No survivors. Is this a human attack? We should never have trusted them. Admiral Vax raised all 4 of his hands. Silence. We have no evidence the humans are responsible. Professor Zix stood next to him. His crystal form dimmed with worry. In fact, I have proof humans helped our ancestors long ago. He displayed the images from the Lorivine chamber. The council room grew quiet as the representatives studied the ancient carvings. These show humans fighting alongside our ancestors, Zix explained, fighting against something called the darkness from beyond. Before anyone could respond, Captain Rogers requested entry to the council chamber. Admiral Vax nodded to the guards. Rogers entered alone. His face looked tired and serious. Admiral, we need to talk. Privately, if possible. Admiral Vax studied the human captain. Whatever you have to say can be said before the council. Rogers nodded. Very well. 3 of your outposts have gone silent because they were attacked by an enemy we call the Voidborn. An enemy humanity has fought before. The chamber erupted again. Security Chief Korvax stepped forward, his fur bristling. How do you know this? Were you watching when it happened? No, Rogers said firmly. We know because the Voidborn attacked human colonies 3 years ago. We recognize their pattern. They disable communications first, then consume all organic and energy resources. Professor Zix moved closer. The darkness from beyond, he whispered, just like in the ancient records. Rogers looked at him with surprise. What records? Zix quickly explained about the discovered chamber and the carvings showing humans fighting alongside the ancestors of the Concord species. Rogers shook his head. That's impossible. Humans couldn't have traveled this far 6,000 years ago. Unless, Admiral Vax said slowly, they were not your ancestors. The room fell silent as everyone considered this possibility. You mean other humans? Rogers asked. A branch of humanity that developed space travel before us. Or perhaps, Professor Zix suggested, your people have forgotten parts of your own history. The debate was interrupted when an aide rushed into the chamber. Admiral, the investigation teams sent to the outposts, all contact lost. Admiral Vax turned to Captain Rogers. How do we fight these Voidborn? With difficulty, Rogers admitted. They absorb energy weapons. Their ships are partly biological and can repair themselves. We barely defeated them in our last encounter. He paused, then continued. I've called for reinforcements. The rest of our fleet is on the way. Your fleet, Korvax growled. How many ships? Over 300, Rogers said quietly. The council gasped. The humans had only shown 12 large ships. They had hidden their true numbers. Security Chief Korvax reached for his weapon. This was your plan all along. First come as friends, then bring your armada. No, Rogers said firmly. If we wanted to conquer you, we wouldn't warn you first. The Voidborn are the real enemy, And they're coming for all of us. Admiral Vax made a quick decision. Stand down, Korvax. Captain Rogers, we will trust you for now. But know that if this is deception, the Concord will fight with everything we have. Rogers nodded. I understand. And I hope you understand why we kept our full strength hidden. First impressions matter, especially with a species that already had myths about us. Professor Zix stepped forward, holding up a new image from the ancient chamber. It showed a black, shapeless mass consuming stars, while human and Concord ancestors fought against it together. The legends never said humans were evil, Zix realized. They said humans were dangerous. There's a difference. A predator is dangerous, but it only becomes a monster when it hunts you. Admiral Vax looked at the image, then at Rogers. It seems we face a common enemy once again. The question is whether our alliance will end the same way as before, with humans disappearing from our space for thousands of years. First, we need to survive, Rogers said grimly. The Voidborn will be here in less than 2 weeks, and they won't stop until they've consumed everything in the Ceridian cluster. 10 days later, the combined human and Concord fleets gathered near the edge of the Ceridian cluster. The space around them, filled with ships of all sizes and shapes. The human vessels were sleek and angular. The Concord ships looked more organic, with curved lines and flowing designs. Admiral Vax stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Light Asterisk. Captain Rogers joined him, both leaders watching the tactical display. Your fleet is impressive, Vax admitted. 327 warships. Rogers nodded. Yours as well. 400 vessels, but numbers alone won't win this battle. Diane Carter worked with Concord scientists in a shared laboratory aboard Harmony 9. They studied samples from previous Voidborn encounters, searching for weaknesses. Their outer shell absorbs energy, Carter explained. But there might be a frequency that disrupts their internal structure. The Concord scientists watched with fascination as she worked. Humans moved differently than any species they knew, more directly, more quickly, with a strange efficiency that seemed both beautiful and slightly frightening. Alan Wright met with Concord military commanders, sharing tactical information. The Voidborn attack in waves, he explained. They send smaller ships first to test defenses and drain resources. Their main vessels stay back until they identify weaknesses. Security Chief Korvax studied the human carefully. Your tactics are unusual. You suggest sacrificing some outer positions to strengthen the inner defense line. Wright nodded. Sometimes you must lose a battle to win a war. The Concord commanders looked uncomfortable. Their strategies always focused on protecting every position equally. They had never considered deliberately sacrificing some ships to strengthen others. Professor Zix continued studying ancient records. He found more evidence of humans throughout Concord history, always appearing during times of great danger, always leaving once the threat passed. Joe Martins worked with cultural liaison Trell to prepare the civilian populations. If the combined fleet failed, people would need to evacuate. Your species adapts quickly to fear, Trell observed. You seem almost designed for crisis. Martinez smiled sadly. Our history is full of disasters, both natural and self-made. We've had practice. The long-range sensors detected movement. Everyone rushed to their battle stations. Voidborn fleet approaching, announced the sensor operator on Admiral Vax's ship. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. The combined fleet moved into position, following the battle plan created by human and Concord strategists. It was a compromise between human aggressive tactics and Concord defensive strategies. The first Voidborn ships appeared at the edge of the system. They were dark shapes against the stars, neither fully mechanical nor fully biological. They absorbed light rather than reflecting it, creating an unsettling visual effect. They're exactly as the ancient carvings depicted them, Professor Zix whispered as he watched from Harmony 9. The battle began with a wave of small Voidborn ships attacking the outer defense line. The Concord ships fired energy weapons, which the Voidborn partially absorbed. The human ships used physical projectiles, which proved more effective. Admiral Vax watched as the battle unfolded. The humans fought differently than his people. They took risks. They made sacrifices. They changed tactics in the middle of battle. Captain Rogers stood beside him, calmly giving orders to his fleet. Squadrons 3 and 4 advance. Draw their attention while Squadrons 1 and 2 attack from below. The human ships moved with precision that impressed even Vax. They fought as if they had faced impossible odds before and expected to do so again. The first wave of Voidborn ships broke through the outer defenses. Several Concord and human vessels were lost. But the plan worked. The Voidborn committed more ships to that sector, leaving their flank exposed. Now, Rogers ordered. A group of human ships attacked from an unexpected angle, causing significant damage to the Voidborn forces. Admiral Vax studied Rogers' face. The human showed concern for the lost ships, but no surprise. He had expected these losses, had planned for them. "You fight as if you're used to being outnumbered," Vax observed. Rogers nodded. "Humanity has rarely had the advantage of numbers or strength. We've learned to use what we have efficiently." As the battle raged around them, Diane Carter's voice came through the communication system. "Captain, Admiral, we found something. A specific frequency that disrupts the Voidborn neural network. If we modify our weapons to transmit this frequency while attacking, we might be able to prevent their self-repair abilities." For the first time since the battle began, Rogers smiled. "Send the specifications to all ships immediately." The war was far from over, but they had found hope. And for the Concord species, watching humans in battle finally explained why their ancestors had turned these allies into figures of myth and legend. The battle raged for 3 days. Space lit up with weapons fire and exploding ships. The combined fleet fought with growing coordination as humans and Concord species learned to work together. Diane Carter's discovery changed everything. The modified frequency weapons prevented the Voidborn ships from repairing themselves. For the first time, the damage inflicted actually stayed. But the Voidborn were still powerful. Their main ships had finally arrived. Massive black structures that consumed smaller vessels to grow stronger. "They're targeting the Loravine colony ships," reported a sensor operator. Admiral Vax studied the tactical display with alarm. 3 Voidborn capital ships were heading toward the civilian evacuation route. If they reached those ships, thousands of innocent lives would be lost. "Redirect Defense Squadron 7 to protect the evacuation," Vax ordered. "Won't arrive in time," Alan Wright said grimly. "But we can." Captain Rogers nodded. "Horizon to all human vessels in Sector 9. Form up on me. We're intercepting those capital ships." Vax turned to Rogers. "Your ships will be outnumbered 3-1. "Then we better move fast," Rogers replied with a tight smile. "Sometimes the best defense is a surprise attack." The Horizon and 12 other human ships broke formation and accelerated toward the Voidborn capital ships. They moved faster than the Concord ships, pushing their engines beyond what seemed safe. "They're going to get themselves killed," Security Chief Korvax growled. But Professor Zix watched with growing excitement. "This is it. This is what the legends described. Humans facing impossible odds to protect others." The human ships slammed into the Voidborn formation at full speed, weapons firing the modified frequency. The lead Voidborn ship shuddered as multiple strikes hit its vital areas. On the Horizon's bridge, warning lights flashed everywhere. "Hull breach on decks 4-6, a crew member reported. "Shields failing." Rogers gripped his command chair. "Maintain course. All power to weapons." The Horizon dove directly toward the largest Voidborn ship. The other human vessels followed, creating a spear formation that drove deep into the enemy line. Admiral Vax watched in stunned silence. No Concord commander would attempt such a risky maneuver. It was either brilliance or madness. "The civilian ships are clear," reported a Concord officer. "Repeat, the evacuation route is secure." But the Horizon was in trouble. Its engines were failing. Its hull was breached in multiple places, and it was now deep in enemy territory with no clear escape route. Captain Rogers, pull back immediately, Vax ordered over the communication system. Negative, Rogers replied, his voice calm despite the chaos around him. We've identified their command node. One more push, and we can take out their central coordination. The Horizon accelerated again, heading straight for the heart of the largest void-borne ship. Everyone watching held their breath. It was a suicide run. All hands, brace for impact, Rogers ordered. Then something unexpected happened. Admiral Vax's flagship, the Eternal Light broke formation and raced toward the human ships. "What are you doing?" Korvax demanded. "What they would do for us," Vax replied simply. The Eternal Light reached the human formation just as the Horizon was about to impact the void-borne ship. Vax's vessel fired specially modified tractor beams, pulling the Horizon away at the last second, while launching all weapons at the void-borne command node. The combined firepower tore through the void-borne defenses. The command node exploded in a flash of dark energy. Throughout the battlefield, the remaining void-borne ships suddenly lost coordination. Without central direction, they began to drift aimlessly or attack each other. The combined fleet pressed their advantage, methodically destroying the confused enemy vessels. Victory was hard-fought but decisive. 1 month later, representatives from human and Concord worlds gathered on Harmony 9 for a formal alliance ceremony. Admiral Vax and Captain Rogers signed the historic agreement while Professor Zix watched with satisfaction. The old stories were wrong about one thing, Zix told his students later. Humans weren't myths to be feared. They were allies to be remembered. On a wall in the new Alliance chamber, workers hung a memorial plaque listing all ships and crews lost in the battle. Human and Concord names appeared side by side, no longer separated by myth or misunderstanding.